Hello my dear friends, welcome back to your channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can fast win all the games. Especially this technique is happening while you are playing the blitz. And majority of the players, if they don't know these lines perfectly, definitely fall in your trap. So without wasting the time, let's get started the game. And here, you just simply push the pawn into e4. In case if your opponent is pushing the pawn into d5 and he is playing the Scandinavian defense against you, on that time you are taking your knight into f3. Now your opponent is capturing the free pawn. In this position, you have this fantastic move, taking your knight into g5. So majority of the players thinking that it is not happening when you are pushing the pawn into e4 and your opponent response definitely should be d5 or Scandinavian defense. So my dear friends, I am going to show you in another variation you can invite your opponents to play the d5. So how you should do this? You just start the game by taking out your knight into f3. And here your opponent has different options to play. But if your opponent push the pawn into d5, and here you have this fantastic move, just push the pawn into e4 and sacrifice your pawn. So when your opponent doesn't have information and doesn't know this line, so definitely he is seeing that this pawn is free, so your opponent is simply capturing the pawn. So in here you are taking your knight into g5 and again attacking to this pawn. In this position, your opponent has different options to play. The first one is taking his bishop and defending from his pawn, and the second one is pushing his another pawn to defend from his pawn, and the third option is taking his queen and defending from his pawn at the same time attacking to your knight. And the fourth option for your opponent is activating his knight. In this way, your opponent can easily defend from his weak pawn in the center. So in this four main variations, I'm going to show you how you can punish your opponent and win the games easily. First of all, I'm going to show you the first variation, and that is taking the knight into f6 because your opponent wants to activate his knight at the same time defending from his pawn. In this position, my dear friends, you just push the pawn into d3. Now your opponent is seeing that his pawn is a useless pawn, so definitely your opponent is capturing your pawn. You just simply capture it back by your bishop. So now you placed your knight in a very critical square and it is somehow teasing your opponent. So majority of the players, if they don't know the trap, so definitely the natural move for them is pushing the pawn into h6 and attacking to your knight. In this position, my dear friends, you have this brilliant move, and that is capturing the pawn, attacking to the queen and to the rook. In this way, you are sacrificing your knight. So your opponent has to capture your knight, but in his surprise, you have this brilliant move, giving a check by your bishop. So your opponent doesn't have any option to go back, so definitely capturing the free bishop. In this way, you are capturing the queen and you are easily winning the game. Coming back to the second variation. And here, if your opponents take his bishop into f5 just to defend from his pawn. In this position, you just activate another knight and attack to this pawn. So your opponent has to defend from his pawn by taking his knight into f6. Now you take your queen into e2 and bring too much pressure on this pawn. So your opponent has to defend from his pawn by taking his queen into d4. Now in this position, my dear friends, you have this fantastic move, and that is giving a check to your opponent and also attacking to the bishop, attacking to the pawn. After that, targeting the rook. So your opponent, the best fair move is covering this check by his bishop. Now you just simply capture the pawn. In this position, my dear friends, majority of players, they are defending their rook by taking their bishop into c6. They are attacking to your queen. So in this position, my dear friends, keep in mind that you have this brilliant move, and that is taking your bishop into b5. Now your opponent doesn't have this option to capture your queen because you pinned the bishop by your bishop. So in this position, your opponent is defending from his bishop by taking his queen into d7. And you just simply capture the bishop by your bishop. So your opponent doesn't have this option to capture by knight, because after that you are capturing the rook for free and giving check. Definitely you will win the game. So what your opponents will do? So definitely capturing the bishop by his queen, and he is thinking that he defended from his rook. But in here, by his surprise, you have the base move, and that is checkmate by your queen. In only one check, you can mate your opponent. So this was the second variation that you can punish your opponent. Coming back to the third variation. In the third variation, for example, if your opponent take his queen into d5, defending from his weak pawn and also attacking to your knight. In this position, what you should do, you just push the pawn into d3. In this position, the best move for your opponent is taking his knight or activating his bishop. But somehow, if he make a mistake, so it is not a big issue for you. For example, if your opponent take his knight, so you just simply take your knight and attack to your opponent's queen. So your opponent has to move. So now you are capturing the pawn. If he captures, so you are simply capturing. Also, you are in a good position. So it is not that much bad. But somehow, if your opponent is looking for taking advantages in this position, instead of taking his knight and bishop, he is capturing your pawn. So you have to capture it back with your bishop. And when you capture the pawn by your bishop, so you weaken your pawn. So the fair move for your opponent is capturing this free pawn. But in here, you have this brilliant move, taking your bishop into e4 and attacking to your opponent's queen. So your opponent queen is completely locked, and it has not anywhere to go. So the only square for your opponent is taking back his queen into g4. Now when you are capturing the queen by your queen, your opponent is capturing by his bishop, again attacking to the pawn, and definitely you are capturing the rook. In this way, you can win the game easily. Coming back to the final variation that maybe you face, and that is pushing the pawn into f5. In this position, my dear friends, you also have this brilliant move, and that is taking your bishop into c4 and targeting this weak square by your knight and bishop. So your opponent has to defend from this weak square. So in this position, you have to push the pawn into d3, and your opponent is also capturing the pawn because he wants to take advantages of one pawn. In this position, my dear friends, it is very critical. You should not capture it back by your queen or by your bishop or by your pawn. So in here, you just simply go to castle. Now again, your opponent is capturing the pawn because he is taking advantages. So here, you simply capture it back by your queen. In this position, my dear friends, you are down 2 pawn, but in reality, you are in a winning position because you activated your queen, and also you have this option to take your rook and attack to your opponent's queen, activated your bishop, your knight, and also another knight is coming, another bishop is coming, and all the things you have in here is attacking to your opponent. But from other hand, your opponent has two pawn ups in you, but you locked all the materials of your opponent. So if you use it carefully, definitely you will win the game easily. And this one was a little bit passive, so I explained it in the last part of the video. So thank you so much, my dear friends, for watching this video. If you like the video, please subscribe the channel, share it with your friends and family members. In this way, you are motivating me to make lots of good videos in the future. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.